Listen up. This isn't easy to talk about, but it's important that you know this information. There's been a constant attack on LGBTQ+ rights that's been unfolding since January 2025. We're looking at the most comprehensive federal attack on LGBTQ+ rights in modern American history. More than 75% of the anti-LGBTQ+ policies outlined in Project 2025 have been implemented in just 1 year. You know that document Trump claimed he knew nothing about? This is based on reporting from the ACLU, Human Rights Campaign, KFF, the Williams Institute, and Lambda Legal. So let's just jump into it. On January 20th, 2025, literally day one, Trump signed Executive Order 14168, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government. The order establishes that, quote, "It is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. These sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality." What does that actually mean? It means every federal agency has to replace the word gender with sex in all materials. It eliminates all federal recognition of transgender people. It cuts funding for gender-affirming care across the board, and it prohibits gender self-identification on passports, visas, any federal document. This isn't just bureaucratic language, this is the foundation for everything that came after. Federal agencies were ordered to redefine reality, and that redefinition has real consequences for millions of people. The White House Gender Policy Council dissolved. 8 days later, January 28th, agencies were ordered to block gender-affirming care for anyone under 19. By March through May, clinics were being warned, educational materials were stripped, providers were investigated. In April, the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program, which serves people living with HIV, was banned from supporting any gender-affirming services. Hospitals receiving Medicare or Medicaid funding, any federal research dollars, were threatened with losing everything if they provided this care. And here's something that got less attention. In June 2025, they eliminated the Press 3 option on the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That was the option specifically for LGBTQ+ youth to connect with counselors trained to help them. The service ended July 17, 2025. A $33 million program gone. But here's what you need to know. In red states like Ohio, 43% of LGBTQ+ youth in Ohio seriously considered suicide in 2024. According to the Trevor Project, 12% attempted, and the specialized support system was just eliminated. On February 26, 2025, the CDC stopped processing transgender-related identity data. In March, hundreds of NIH research grants were terminated for including keywords related to LGBT people or gender identity. Federal survey instruments were changed to eliminate LGBTQ+ data collection. In June, Medicaid programs were told to stop asking about sexual orientation or gender identity. So what happens when you erase people from data? You erase them from policy. You can't address health disparities you refuse to measure. All applications for passport gender marker changes suspended. New passports only issued with sex assigned at birth. If you previously had a passport with an X marker or your affirmed gender, it will not be renewed. What that means is transgender people are forced to carry documents that don't match their identity or appearance, which increases risk of harassment, discrimination, and violence every time they present ID. Executive Order 14183, signed January 27, 2025, reinstates and expands the ban on transgender military service. The order claims that adoption of a gender identity inconsistent with an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle. The Supreme Court allowed enforcement in a 6-3 decision. In schools, Biden-era Title IX protections for LGBTQ+ students were rescinded. Transgender girls are prohibited from participating on sports teams aligned with their gender identity. But here's where it gets darker. Executive orders encourage criminal prosecution of teachers for affirming LGBTQ+ students. Hundreds of books about gender were removed from libraries for review. On February 7, 2025, HUD stopped enforcing protections against gender identity discrimination in housing. Women's shelters can now ban transgender women. In November, new rules allowed denial of funding to any homeless shelter that violates the sex binary. So here's the thing. Executive orders cannot override the U.S. Constitution, federal laws passed by Congress, or established legal precedent. In 2020, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in Bostock versus Clayton County that discrimination against LGBTQ+ people is sex discrimination under Title VII. That's still the law, but the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is refusing to enforce protections for transgender workers, dismissing ongoing cases. But here's what gives me hope: the legal challenges. Human Rights Campaign and Lambda Legal are challenging the military ban. 9 nonprofits filed San Francisco AIDS Foundation versus Trump, challenging multiple executive orders. Courts have already granted preliminary injunctions in some cases, protecting transgender incarcerated persons from being moved to men's facilities and losing care. And look, the National Park Service removed all references to transgender people from Stonewall National Monument web pages, changed LGBTQ+ to LGB, blocked public view of Pauli Murray's biography. When courts ordered the CDC to restore pages about transgender people and HIV, the agency added a banner saying, "Any information on this page promoting gender ideology does not reflect biological reality, and therefore the administration and this department rejects it." Real quick, if you or someone you know is in crisis, Trevor Project is 1-866-488-7386. Trans Lifeline is 1-877-565-8860. Now here's what you can actually do. Know your rights. Title VII still protects against workplace discrimination, state laws may provide additional protections, and executive orders can't override the Constitution. Support the litigation, donate to the ACLU, Lambda Legal, Human Rights Campaign, the Trevor Project, local LGBTQ+ centers. Contact your representatives, oppose these policies, amplify LGBTQ+ voices, and vote. This is coordinated, 75% of Project 2025 implemented, despite Trump claiming he didn't know about it. This follows a pattern. States with the highest anti-trans legislation saw corresponding increases in youth suicide attempts. This is not normal, but this is also challenged, active, and can be fought. Executive orders are not laws. They can be overturned. History shows progress resumes after setbacks. The LGBTQ+ community has survived attacks before. This is a fight, and we fight together. You are not alone. We'll keep tracking these developments and updating you. Sources for everything we covered are on screen and in the description. ACLU, Human Rights Campaign, Williams Institute, KFF, Lambda Legal, the Trevor Project. If this affected you, if you learned something, share it. Awareness is resistance. And look, I know this was heavy, but information is power. Subscribe for updates, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time with more LGBTQ+ education.